Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our daily word. It is Wednesday, December 16th of the year 2020. If you've been out, you know it's rather snowy this morning and a little slippery in spots. So if you have to go out, make extra time. And I've been told from a couple people on the phone today that 75 south by Piqua and 75 north by 274 are both at a standstill. So if you have to go somewhere, you might consider that if you're going on I-75. Reminder that tonight is our final Advent Fireside Chat, and that will begin here on Facebook Live and on Zoom at 7 o'clock. We're going to talk tonight about what makes Christmas Christmas for you. Not traditions necessarily, but what is it that one thing or two things or five things that makes Christmas really Christmas for you when you get to the end of the day? And I'll tell you a quick story at the end of our time about one of the things that makes Christmas Christmas for me. It's really simplistic, but I think you'll appreciate it. And then next Wednesday night, we're going to have parking lot carols, and that'll start at 6 o'clock. And you can just be in your car. You can tune in your car radio. I'll have the transmitter working. You can listen. You can come outside of your car if you wish and sing along, and I'll have some books with music, and then we'll also have some hot chocolate, and Diane and I will be making some cookies that we can share. So I hope you'll join us for that. And of course, Sunday morning at 10:15, this week we'd light the candle of peace. So this morning, scripture I have chosen is Isaiah 35, verses 1 through 10. And we hear these words: "The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it will burst into bloom. It will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it, the splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God. Strengthen the feeble hands, steady the knees that give way. Say to those with fearful hearts, be strong, do not fear, your God will come. He will come with vengeance, with divine retribution, he will come to save you. Then the eyes of the blind will be opened and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then will the lame leap like a deer and the mute tongue shout for joy. Water will gush forth in the wilderness and streams in the desert. The burning sand will become a pool, the thirsty ground bubbling springs. In the haunts where jackals once lay, grass and reeds and papyrus will grow. And a highway will be there. It will be called the way of holiness. It will be for those who walk on that way. The unclean will not journey on it. Wicked fools will not go about on it. No lion will be there, no ravenous beast. They will not be found there. But only the redeemed will walk there, and those the Lord has rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away." So there are two things in Scripture that most aptly describe who God is. And these two words are bigger than the biggest cathedral in the world. These two words are bigger than our church or anything we can imagine. And the two words that most aptly describe God in Scripture are these: the words holy and love. Holy and love. Let's think about the word holy. Holiness. You know, this word happens a lot in our Advent Scripture, some form of the word. I was looking at my year ago memories, or more than a year ago, on my Facebook page. And so when I go to my memories, December 16th, 2018, our Advent boxes return today, filled to the top, 48 boxes. And there's a picture of the church and all of those boxes that are filling the very front of the sanctuary. Now, you may know that in our church, where everybody sits is called the nave. In the very front, when you go up the steps, that in our church is called the sanctuary. And I look at that picture and I think about that picture of 2 years ago, and all of those boxes, they're decorated, they're full of food, they have a loaf of bread in them, and soon a ham would be added and they'll be delivered. And when you look at that picture initially, it doesn't necessarily look like something in a sanctuary that's holy. But I look at it really closely and know that those boxes filled with food given freely by many people who took all of those boxes and then brought them back, that for me is a sign of holiness. It's a reminder that God has chosen for us to set apart these things in order to make a difference in someone else's life. And so when we walk into that place and go all the way up in here in the sanctuary, to me, that's a holy place. We have collected many boxes already for this week, and I'm hoping to get a few at least carried up front for our picture. I can't carry them, but hopefully some folks can help me get them up there. And that picture of Christmas trees and the Advent wreath and the poinsettia tree and all of that, you see, that's a reminder of holiness. And the kind of holiness that we want to have in our lives. It's as if, we're set apart and to do what Jesus called us to do, and that's to love and care for our neighbors. Holiness, I think, is the kind of thing that spurs us to greatness. And not only inspires greatness, but empowers it. You see, if you know me well enough, I've always had a trouble with the slogan of making something great, because I don't think we have a clue what greatness is. I'm convinced that greatness is tied to holiness, and that holiness inspires us to greatness and empowers us to be great. When those boxes are passed out, they're passed out with love. You see, that's the other big, gigantic word that describes God. Holiness looks like this big, gigantic movement when it's concentrated with love. And that's really what we are called to. This Advent season, you see, it's a reminder that God is somehow entering our lives again. And Mary says yes. Joseph says yes. And we have the audacity to believe that this holy God who loves us so much comes to us again in the birth of the Christ child. It's why we light the Christ candle on Christmas Eve. It's why it's the biggest candle. It's why it has the biggest flame. It's why we light all of our candles from that flame. It's a reminder that into the broken conditions and situations of our lives, God comes in holiness and in love. And so I think that as we pause in the season of Advent, as we look forward to what it is that God calls us to, maybe indeed that the kind of greatness that God calls us to is indeed tied to holiness. And this kind of holiness and this kind of love has the power and the capacity to change lives. And so I pray that we might look deep inside of ourselves as we live together and as we share our lives with each other in these days. So I pray you'll have a great day. I pray you'll know peace in your lives. I pray you'll know the presence of God. I pray you'll know God's holiness and God's love in your life. Join us tonight at 7 o'clock. And we're going to have a good time together, and we're going to read the chapter Bethlehem, Bethlehem from our book and share in a great conversation. So join us tonight. Have a great day. May God's love fill you this day, and may you know my love for all of you. And I'll see you tonight at 7 and tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Have a great day.